Hey, how's it going? It's Socks here. I still don't know exactly what I'm going for in this series. You'll remember my first video was called The Correct Way to Beat Forest Frontiers. It seemed kind of aggressive to say that, so I'm just going to tell you about the time I turned a park with one coaster into a park with more than one coaster. The first thing I did as head of Dynamite Dunes was delete their coaster. It's a fine coaster. I just like building the coasters myself. Thank you very much. Moreover, the ditch it was built in was just an eyesore, especially since I got rid of the coaster. So I spent the rest of my money leveling that out and turning the dirt back into sand. Now you could say, Socks, don't you need money? Yeah, but I took out a loan from the bank that I would use to start the park from scratch. I was left with a blank slate, just like in Forest Frontiers, so I built a merry-go-round and some shops. The next move was obviously to create a roller coaster. Funds were tight, but I figured I could at least make a small one. I was successful in creating a small roller coaster, but unfortunately I had to delete the path and the merry-go-round and all the stalls to have enough money. Now I was broke. Figured I could get this money back by placing guests in a path next to my ride, so I'd have nowhere to go and thus would ride the coaster. It didn't really seem to work. I even lowered the price from $5 to $3, and they still didn't want to ride it. It was that day I realized forcing guests to ride your ride as a vehicle of income didn't really work. Of course, this left me back where I started. I realized my strategy of building a coaster off the bat wouldn't work. Luckily, the go-karts unlocked. For those who are unfamiliar with go-karts in Roller Coaster Tycoon, they're basically a cheat code. They're super cheap to make and easy to design, take up pretty much no space, and guests will pay a lot of money for them. At first I charged $5 per guest, and they could take 3 laps. I got impatient, and changed it to $10, and only 1 lap. They still paid for it. Eventually I had enough money for a coaster. I made one less ambitious, and it was probably one of the least cool coasters I'd designed. Frankly, I was ashamed of it. Here it is, moving at an absolutely glacial pace throughout the layout. Shortly after, the corkscrew coaster was unlocked. Now, if go-karts are a cheat code, this coaster is even more of a cheat code. Basically, you can change it to launch mode at the lowest speed, and it'll go halfway up the coaster and back down, and they'll pay $5 for this experience. Kinda got tired of the sand dunes, so I decided to get rid of it. As you can imagine, this was a costly venture, so I built 3 more spam coasters to supplement my income. As I was quickly gaining money, thought to myself I had fallen victim to the trappings of capitalist greed. Here I was, still painting myself as an underdog given my past struggles, but I was clearly making a ton of money off consumers, content with a terrible product because they didn't know better. I realized most corporate people probably went through a similar process in their rise to power, and now operate with an unwarranted insecurity that compels them to continue to oppress the working class. My train of thought was interrupted by the rain. This meant it was time to overcharge for umbrellas. Eventually I removed all of the dunes, and even had enough money to remove a small dune as well. I dedicated the rest of the money to a big roller coaster, I decided. It made it almost a mile long, and I still had way too much money. I modeled it after Boardwalk Bullet and Kima Boardwalk in Texas. I've been watching that one a lot on YouTube, and it was really windy and compact, and it's really a marvel how they fit that wooden coaster into such a small space. Anyway, once I built this, guests started coming in, and I beat the 650 guest goal. I was also awarded the award for having the best roller coasters, which I thought was funny, because I really only had one good roller coaster, and then a bunch of small spam coasters that I would hardly describe as good roller coasters. Anyway, thanks for coming along for the ride, and we'll do Leafy Lake next. Hopefully we'll find ways to complete the scenario without it being as extortive to our guests. Until next time, Socks is signing off.